Perfect. All right, I'll go ahead and share my screen real quick. First, I'll start with how to build time inside of Filevine as a user. So there's a few ways to build time inside of Filevine. What I typically like to start with is up in the top up here. You'll see there's a few methods that you can do as you're moving out through Filevine. So for example, inside of Filevine, there's this static bar, this blue bar up top that follows you no matter where you're at. So I could be in a case, I could be in the, different contacts, address book, mailroom, task. It doesn't matter. This blue bar is there and it will always be there as you're navigating through your Filevine. So the reason why that's important is because there's two spots up in the top that you can record your time and also record other people's time. So I know typically firms, you want to record your own time as a principal, but sometimes I know working in a law firm that if an attorney is really busy or at court or something along those lines, and they just want to get that time built in, they'll email their paralegal, legal assistant, someone in that nature, and request them to record that time. So I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay, so first thing I would like to start off would be the timer. So as you can see, these are individual cases here. So you have the grizzly bear versus squirrel company, just the criminal case right here, in the Harry Potter case. These are separate project types. So these would each be individual cases or matters for someone. And you can have several of ones going at one time as you're switching through tasks. And I think this pops up a lot when people are calling in, something's happening and you're changing tasks. I know a lot of times we get busy and we have to change tasks a little bit. So what I wanted to show you is, I'll go ahead and kind of delete this one, but I'll go ahead and add a timer and we'll do the Money Penny project right here. And then I can go ahead and hit start timer. So if I'm on a call with someone, I could go ahead and hit that timer and now it starts a countdown. I'll say call with client, talked, and then, the details you talked about. But you can go ahead and type some of these notes out as you're calling on the phone with them. But say that you're having to switch that task real quick and say, oh, well, actually, the client, let me pause this conversation, table it. I have that Harry Potter case I got to go back to. You can pause this and hit play to this one, and then this will start back up that timer piece on that. So you can go ahead and get things moving on for that particular project. But also you can keep going on additional timers as well, as if you're done with this one. Let's just say you're finished up on this one, you click save time entry. Now that time entry has been saved to that project and it's no longer here. So say at the end of the day, you're finished up and you have a ton of time that you've just went through with these cases, you can come up in here and just hit the blue check mark and finish up all of your ones that you had outstanding for the day. This is really good when you're drafting documents, anything like that, talking on the phone with clients, talking in a meeting, anything like that. You could go ahead and set that timer, associate it with the project, and a description is always needed as well. And then you can keep things moving. If you have a time code that's needed, like leads codes or anything in that nature, you can add those time codes from that spot as well. Another important feature is that you can either say billable or chargeable. So if you have internal meetings that you guys want to keep track of when you're inside of Filevine and just through your day-to-day to kind of get a better idea of where the time is being spent on in your day-to-day work, you could do that as well and just call it not billable or not chargeable, just depending on kind of how you guys work in the workflow. Yeah, so that's one method of going through, and as you can see too, you can move it along. Doesn't really matter where it's at. You can minimize it and then click it again. It appears at that same spot. So it's a little sticky spot, meaning wherever you move it, it should stay there as you are going in and out of projects inside of here. All right, so I'll go ahead and move on to the timesheets. So this is another feature up in the top side as well that you can come in here and see bird's eye view on what I have been spending my time doing. A good thing about this as well is you can see your Monday through Friday. If you're working on weekends, you can have the weekends visible as well. This is a user standpoint. So this is my time spent. I can't up here see Jennifer's time spent. I can't see Jasmine's time spent. I can't see any other person's time spent on a weekly basis on this view. I can in a report and I can in other methods, but I cannot in this view. This is a good time for just your user to see kind of where what you've been doing and how your time has gone throughout the week. And what I'll do is I'll show you how you can navigate through this, the timesheets as well. So inside of the timesheets, you can hit add item, and this will pop up to the right over here, additional things that you can add in, and we'll use that same project. So this will be the case you would add in. We'll do Money Penny again. I can come over here, choose my project, and I can even choose my name. You can even see the rate is automatically there. And I'll show you how to auto assign rates once we get into that section as well. And then you can also choose other people as well. So I can go ahead and use Jasmine here and show Jasmine, and I can build time for Jasmine in this project, as well. So that's that kind of thing of if you're ever wanting or ever needing to build someone else's time or add like, hey, can you just add 2 hours to this project for me about trial? And then you can go into from that. You can also add these as shells, and if you need to add more subscriptions later, it's still customized or so editable later. As long as that invoice hasn't been processed, you're still able to do that during your pre-bill workflow. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and say it's me. I'll do my time codes on this one. We'll go ahead and say I drafted a document. It took me about 2 hours, and I'll hit save. Once I hit save, you can see that has now been added, and it is a saved status. So now it has been added to this particular Money Penny project, as well as you can see here, that call I had with the client. I was only for 30 seconds, but it can round to the nearest 10th. So you can have that go up to that mark as well. All right, so you can see in here all of my time that I've built previously, but you can also come over here and select other people's time as well. So I can check in on others and see what they've been billed on. So it looks like she was billed on the QuickBooks side. I can go to Troy and see where Troy's been billing and see call with client on Harry Potter on October 25th. So you're able to filter through here just to show kind of where everybody's been billing time at. But this, as you notice, does not reflect up here. So sometimes we get a question of, does this over here altering the filters here reflect right here? It does not. This is static information up here that will change, of course, as your day is going through and you're having to build new time, all that good stuff. You will see the reflected hours up here, but anything over here in this bottom section on the time entry side will stay depending on the filters you have selected. So I'll go back to me, and now you can see all of my time that I've built in that. But yeah. All right, so I'll slow down on that and see if there's any questions or anything. Don't think so. All right, perfect. So next we'll go over how to build time inside of an actual case. So this was all me billing, and I'm not even inside of that case. I'm just outside of the case trying to make sure that I'm putting my entries at the end of the day or something along those lines. So I'll go ahead and go into my Money Penny case right here. If I need to actually bill an item, I can come in over into my billing section. I can hit my billing entries and hit this green button, this green plus button right here. This green button right here will allow me to insert a time entry. So I could come in here and say, I'll just refresh that piece. I'll go ahead and say I'm spending 1 hour. Sorry, I clicked my rate, so I'll change my rate just for this example. I spent 1 hour on drafting an answer. And I could put in my time codes as well. This is how you can get a pop-up box and put it directly into that project. As you can see, a little bit different. Each time I was in the clock or I was in timesheets, I had to choose my project, right? Here I don't, because I'm already inside the project. So as soon as I hit save, then this will go to directly just this project. When I'll go to any other project, you don't have to worry about that. So that's how you will be able to enter time directly just when you're inside a project. So talking about rates as well. So of course, if there's different rates per the client, or if you have an out of like in the courtroom rate, out of courtroom rate, things like that that we typically see, you can set up those rate schedules on the back end, and I will show you how to do that. But when you set those up, if it's not the default rate, you do have to assign that rate to that project. Meaning if I go into section in settings and I hit a rate schedule, I can change my rate accordingly. Meaning I could go ahead and say, this is my default hourly rate, but I'll go ahead and say I'll use the immigration rate schedule, because this is now, this is for this matter, an immigration schedule rate. I hit save. Now all of the invoice entries can be reflected, and we can move on it. But I'll go ahead and move it back to the hourly rate. And move along on that piece. But that essentially now correlates that rate schedule with this project. So then anytime I am recording time on this particular case, you will be able to see that the rate will be edited accordingly. Perfect. All right. So you have your time entries here. You have expense items here as well. So if you ever have to add an expense and it needs to be on the actual invoice when you send that out, you can go ahead and click that, hit the type of invoicing. These are pre-done. Like I said on the back end, I'll show you that in a little while. So I'll show you rate schedule and how to, add a particular expense type. Then you can say the quantity that's there, and what type of code if needed, description fee, and then you will have this actual expense item that's happened. And this will show up separately on your invoicing that you have set up too inside of Filevine. Same concept here for flat fee. You hit the green plus button, and this is all just for this Money Penny project in case. Same concept. Okay, so that's how you are able to track your time inside of the individual case itself. There's also another way that you can do this that's a little interesting that you're able to do is assign. So if you have task flows set up, you're able to assign actual hours and a particular task entry for a timing entry inside of a task flow, which is kind of nice. So for instance, if you have a call with client task, I can have it automatically add an entry. So I can say that, let's do a task to Vine skills user. I'll just do this one, Jackie, Vine skills. What type of it is, and then an estimated hour. Just an estimate. This isn't recording time. This is going to be anytime you actually complete this. So say, please call client. You click, yeah. If I were to just go ahead and click done with this, you can see the time details here. It will populate a time entry for me automatically. This will show what type of, description you can change, of course. So this will, if it's just with a task flow, then this description can be exactly what you put in that task flow. So if it is called client, talked about discovery, written discovery, the request to produce, anything like that, and you've had to track your time, you can have that in a task flow. Once you complete it, then it will already put the team member right here who completed that item. And then you can say the actual entry type and hit save and complete. So that's a good way to be able to keep things going on that portion. Toggle either billable or chargeable. When might you toggle billable or chargeable off? So I usually like to say you would billable and chargeable, you would toggle off if you're trying to record time, say internally, and you don't want that to be an actual invoice out. So that's not an actual thing that the client would pay for. I see this a lot with just internal meetings, things like that you're having to do throughout your as you're working day to day, and you want to make sure that that's actually been accounted for, meaning like with your time entries, if somebody's taking it, then that's when you kind of use that one. So then you could just say it's not billable or it is billable, depending on if it is. And then you can say, okay, well, this was an internal meeting, none of this was billable or chargeable. Then you can unclick those two, toggle those off, and I can report off of that. And then also I can see my timesheets that it is, that time has been actually applied, like that you've worked it. But good question. So we're also able to see kind of with that too is this isn't something that I build for, but it's charging it for it. Is another kind of question we see too. Is like, what's the difference between the two? But yeah. So let's see. Yeah. So when you click that done, you can also toggle it on and off right here on this. So as you see, if it's billable, you toggle it off both of them. But it could be billable but not chargeable as a thing. So that's the kind of measure it is. That means that it's a billable hour, but it's not something that we can actually charge for. We see a lot of internal things in that nature. All right. But yes, you can report off of that, which is important, and it's on your timesheets as well. So I'll go ahead and hit that one complete. All right. So those are the ways you can be able to build time inside of Filevine, just going through. Now, of course, there is some plugins for your time and billing as well. Let me see if my Outlook is turned on. Well, we'll pause that piece. So you can be able to use a Outlook plugin, so you don't actually even have to be in Filevine to even build that time if you're emailing clients, especially if it's like a quick little emails back and forth to adjusters or clients. Then you can be able to put in that time real quick inside of your Outlook spot. All right, let's go over how to set up your billing. All right, so inside of Filevine in the settings part, we were talking about how we were having to set the rate schedule on the project, so that Moneypenny project. So you have a default rate inside of Filevine, meaning it is the one that anytime you open a new case, it automatically will assign that rate schedule for it. However, you can change it. So if you go to like JT's rates, I can come in here and these can be changed accordingly. Now, how you would create a new rate schedule. So say you get a new client and you have new rates, or it's the end of the year and you're deciding, let's raise our rates. We just need some new ones. We can come in here and say, add rate schedule. So I can say rate. And then I can create it off of it, which this is important, meaning if only a certain few are changing in that rates, meaning if somebody just made partner or something along those lines, but also the billing structure is very similar to that one client that we have, something along those lines, we can kind of base it off of, or you can just hit just a blank new one, and then this is all just blanked out for you. So you would come in and it is based off user. So that means I can come in here and show Derek. Derek is his DH would be his timekeeper ID. And I would say he's a 250 at rate. And then you can classify, even if you're dealing with leads codes and all, you can classify this. So when you do a leads invoicing, that this classification is already assigned to it. But I can go ahead and say he's a contract attorney, hit save. And then now anytime that this new rate schedule is added to a case that, and Derek is selected, that rate will be posted on. And I can give a quick example real quick. Money penny. Billing, settings, new client rate. And there was 2 in there, so I'm hoping I named that one correctly. We can go ahead and add in Derek real quick. And you can see the 250s automatically populated. So that will now, it assigns that project with that rate. All right, so I'll go back up into the setup, but now you can assign not just there, any other, of course, rates that need to be assigned appropriately can be assigned in the billing setup here for that particular rate schedule. Also, what you can do is expenses. So we were talking about expenses. We can add a description for the expense. So copies and say price per unit, we'll say 50 or maybe 12.50 for 1 unit. It's expensive copies. So I can, anytime now that's associated with that rate schedule, that expense can be as well. So that means if I can bill for copies for $12 for this one client, but $2 for another, I can separate those according to each of those rate schedules that have been assigned. What you can also do is your time increments. So remember when I was up here and I was billing, I had that 30-second call and it went ahead and went for a 0.1. I can go ahead and say, do I want to do a 0.1 or a 0.25? So I can assign what type of time increment I want to for it to round to the nearest team. Perfect. All right, so also in the billing setup, what you'll notice as well is that you have invoicing templates and then also settings. Some of this, if you're not using leads, but this is mostly your tax ID, things like that. But if you're not using that type of format, you don't have to typically worry about that. But what you would want to make sure you're setting up is, one, your invoice. If you're using invoicing through Filevine and creating invoices, you would want to make sure that your invoicing template is actually updated, meaning I'll share my screen right here. And you can see this is an invoice template. You would add your company logo here. So you can just insert a company logo at that spot. And these are actually codes that once you generate the document, of course, like you can do bulk invoicing and things like that, that this will automatically pull in. But say you don't want something, you can take them off of here. This is somewhat customizable. Not as, of course, like custom as, like I would say a DocGen or anything, but you need this type of template if you're wanting to do anything in the billing advanced section. If you want to invoice through there, this is the invoice that you will be seeing and using. But you can change the color and stuff like that, and in the format if you want to make it a little bit different. All right, then you'll upload that document. Once you add your logo, all that good stuff, you'll upload it here, and then that's how each one would be generated afterwards. This is just a template, so it just gives you, this is what's going to be generated right now. But then once I add my logo, I'll just upload it right here. We're good to go. You can also do like payment settings, manual payment supplies, things like that. But you can do as well as, if you want your invoice generation to just go ahead and do a PDF, you can have that happen. What type of reply email? So if you're sending out via email, this is what the email address it will respond to. But another important one would be invoice approval. So if you're doing time and billing and you have to set it up for pre-bills and a pre-bill workflow, which just essentially means I got to make sure that this goes to the originating attorney or the responsible attorney on the case, and make sure that they are looking over their time of billing, and so that the client doesn't get an invoice that doesn't really make sense, or that you're like, oh, I spent too much time on this, or I can spend a little bit more time here. You can be able to judge those factors in that pre-bill workflow, but you need to have an invoice approval, because then you can go through and organize and see, oh, these are just mine. Now, this is rules. So if you, what you would want to do is want to make sure that if you have a billing approval, sometimes I suggest a rule like that, or if it's always your responsible attorney for that particular case, then we can have certain rules set to that, and they would then receive the needed items in order. Like, they'll need advance permissions to the billing section and be able to go over their bills. Once they approve it, then it will go to the who you guys does your invoice, whoever you does your invoicing will go to them, and they can finalize the invoice from there. Codes. So if you guys are doing any sort of leads codes or any sort of coding that you would like to use and help navigate inside of your Filevine, you would set that up right in the code section. And that's also where you can do expense codes, flat fee codes, things like that. But what you would want to do is you'd come in here, and then you can add in, so you can say time code and just hit that, and then have a code and be able to edit it from there. Enter code, enter description, all that good stuff. Also, inside of Filevine, you can make it where only certain people can have advanced settings and sandbox settings, meaning this is for your rates. So this is so people, if you're in the projects, like the timesheets, anything like that, that people are not able to see my rate and what I'm charging. I mean, if that is a topic that shouldn't be discussed like inside of the law firm, you're able to control that back here. You can, of course, adjust it. If you're toggled on right here, you can see rates. If you're toggled off, then you can't see rates. And you can search mass up in the top search button as well. All right. So that's the advanced billing setup feature. But then also you have your actual billing. So this is a unbilled invoices and payments. So this is what has been working through. So you can see the money penny. We spent a lot of time and to go through on that one. Then you have what's been invoiced here. And that's the workflow. So you go unbilled, invoice, and then you would go into your payments to see what's been paid on a mass setting wise. So what you can do here is hit status, and I can see what needs to be, what's finalized, what's partial, what's void, what's kind of going on here. So what I want to do is, if I ever want to come in, you can see Amanda approved this money penny one pretty quickly, and we can see kind of what the process is. Now, approved just means this is good to go to be invoiced, but it has not been sent to the, like, been finalized and not sent out yet. So I can go in and hit, okay, let me check all of the approved. Okay, perfect. That means I need to go through and make sure that I have invoice for those. Also, what I can come in here and do is see what is in editing. What do I need to actually see that is the editing stage? Then you can come in here and see what kind of is still pending on the editing portion. So once you want to try to edit a section, for instance, you can come in here and see, let's get one in editing right here, Rocket Raccoon. I can come in here and say what needs to actually be edited. So I can come in here and click and unselect each entry that needs to be updated. I can also, if it's a time entry, can select it and change the description or change things, give more detail where needed, things like that. That can be done, and then you can move that. So I can show you. You can move that over into approved. And now that is queued up to be approved, and you'll be able to send that invoicing out here pretty soon. Then you have payments. This is how you can be able to run through and see where your payments are done. So if there's someone who is in charge of kind of the accounting, all that good stuff, you can come back here and be able to kind of see where the payments have been done. So a lot of payments on MoneyPenny, a lot of payments here, but then kind of see where everything has been on the time and billing side of things and all that good stuff. Of course, a lot of this information is reportable too, but this is just a way to view it quickly. You can filter it by, like, of course, date, when, team member, project, of the certain projects that you're looking for, all that good stuff. All right. Then I want to go over the last part right here is time and billing reporting. So there's a few reports and you can see them. They're all down here. So if you have payment invoicing, payments, payment application, billing items, and project funds. For time and billing entries, what you can do is you'll want to run a billing items report. And this is a way you'll be able to see kind of who's billing time and how much people are billing. So kind of what we talked about a little bit is, let's see if in timesheets, I can only see my dates, my time that I've done. But if you're in management and you want to make sure people are doing good and they're billing their time appropriately, you can come in here, run a report, and be able to see kind of what items and what's been billed. Now, pretty often what we hear is as a question is raw quantity and then final quantity, what those actually mean. So I don't even know if I put in final here. Let me go back to the columns. But raw quantity is actually what was actually billed, so time-wise, and then final is what was rounded to. So for instance, that time up here when I was billing timer and it was only a 0.3, or no, only for 30 seconds or something like that. Maybe 3 seconds, I couldn't remember. But you and it rounded like to the nearest, you would see the rounded version as the final and the raw as being the actual time spent on it. This is the criteria is where you would be able to filter down and criteria down to a particular user. So if you want to see just how everybody's doing, you can run a report and see everybody. You can run it and see just a particular person, who ran what, created by what user, and kind of get a better idea of the time and billing split for a particular date range, all that good stuff. You'll be able to do that through the criteria. The criteria will be your best friend on really pinpointing what you're trying to find in that reporting capability. If you just click through, this is more of a data, I would say, like dump of a lot of information. Of course, you can download this in an Excel spreadsheet and be able to navigate it through there as well. If you want a bigger reporting and columns and everything. But yeah, that sums up most of this items that we were going to cover today. Of course, you can do your like invoice reporting as well, and any like project funds reporting as well. But we can go over those in a different type of more granular kind of topic of discussion. But also, real quick, I do want to mention, I don't know if I went over this, is a popular one that we see is like an auto tag or something along those lines of things that are overdue, right? So if you want to know, hashtag something automatically, so you can see it in your project hub, you can see it on every case that somebody's been invoiced and they're overdue. You can do that by, one, the status has to be final saved. So let me show you what that looks like real quick. So this takes a little time. So if you were to mark something as final, I can click this right here and say mark as sent. So I can say mark as sent. So these are queued up for those. Now it's notifying essentially Filevine. These are not only final, but these have been marked as final and they have been sent. I now can run an auto hashtag in my my project by doing a project list report to do an auto tag. To show the overdue ones by just adding a list of projects. Here is how you would want to do it. List of projects. Sorry, my computer's being a little slow here. And then you would have overdue as an option as well from your project pit. Outstanding, overdue. Yeah, you'll be able to do it, keep track of it that way. So just remember when you're finalizing invoicing and everything and you've sent it out, make sure to mark it as final sent. Then you'll be able to keep track of easier who's overdue, what needs to be paid, all that good stuff through reporting. All right, any questions?
While we wait to see if any come through, if you all do have questions, again, feel free to either reach out to us via email or you can put it in the chat right now. I'm going to go ahead and, excuse me, re-add our emails into the chat. If you all need assistance with anything Filevine related, feel free to reach out to us and we can get you set up with the right folks. We just started offering hourly support. So if you're like, hey, we need help with a few things, maybe, you know, every or 3 hours every month or something along those lines, we do have plans for like, I think our minimum is 5 hours a month. And they do roll over for the quarter. So that's super nice if you're like, we don't want to go full optimization and have a full client block because we just don't have that much work. But we do want someone to come in and maybe help with time and billing features, setting up invoices, or, you know, changing the invoice template that Jackie went over, even running the reports that Jackie kind of mentioned. We can all do that with our hourly service there. So feel free to reach out. And then again, I'll put our free help link in the chat. We do offer free help every Wednesday. The topic does change. We record these so that if you or somebody on your team wasn't able to make it, you can still kind of watch it. I'm going to go ahead and put that in there as well. Outside of our free or our hourly support, we also offer free Filevine audits. So if you've been in Filevine for a while and maybe you're like, we're probably not using this to the best of our ability, we are running free Filevine audits to kind of help guide you all into how to make Filevine be more efficient and effective for you and your firm.
Yeah, and I think would be interesting on this one too is because we talked about time and billing. We do have a finance skills as well, which is kind of if you don't have someone inside of your firm that does accounting or anything like that, and you're like, okay, we're getting larger, we need somebody internal, or we need to outsource this. We do have finance skills, which I think many people can benefit from too if you use QuickBooks, because then you can use our integration as well. Help save you guys time and you guys can do the billing and do the processing.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jackie. I don't see any questions. So if you all do have anything, feel free to reach out via email. If not, hopefully you all learned something great. Jackie, again, thanks and have a great rest of your day. All right. Bye-bye.
Hi, guys.